Tunnels by Brian Williams. Breaking ground. Slack. The pickaxe hit the wall of earth and, sparkling on an unseen shot of field, sank deep into the clay, coming into a sudden halt with a tug. That must be it, Will. Dr. Burrows crawled forwards in the cramped tunnel, sweating and breathing heavily in the confined space. He began slowly crawling at the dirt, his breath clouding in the damp air. Under the combined glare of the helmet lamps, each greedy handful removed one of the old wooden planking beneath, exposing its tar-coated again and spindly surface. Pass me the crowbar. Will remained in the central, found the stuffy blue crowbar and handed it to his father, whose gaze was fixed on an area of wood before him. Forcing the flat edge of the tool between two of the planks, Dr. Burrows grunted and he put all his weight behind it to gain some pressure. He then began leveling from side to side. The planks creaked and moaned against their rusted fixings until finally they bellowed out, breaking through free with a resounding crack. Will connected slightly in a trammy breeze bled from the enormous gap Dr. Burrows had created. Ungently they pulled two more of the planks out of space, leaving a shoulder-width hole, and pausing for a moment in silence. Father and son returned and looked at each other, sharing a brief, confident smile. The faces, illuminated in each other's light beams, were smeared with a war paint of dirt. They turned back to the hole and started in wonder at the dust motes floating like tiny diamonds, forming and reforming unknown constellations against the night-black opening. Dr. Burrows wearily leaned into the hole, Will squeezing in beside him and peered over his shoulder. As their helmet lamps cut into the abyss, a curved-tailed wall became in sharp focus. The beams, penetrating deeper, swept over old posters whose edges were peeling away from the wall and waving slowly, like tendrils of seaweed caught in a drift of powerful currents at the bottom of the ocean. Will raised his head a little, scanning even further along until he caught the edge of the helmet field and crossing north. That is it, Will. That is it. We found it. Dr. Burrows' excited voice echoed about the damp confines of the discarded train station. They felt a slight breeze on their faces, and sun blew along the platform and down on the rails, as if an animated panic by this rude intrusion, after so many years, into this sealed and forgotten catacomb. Will kicked wildly at the timbers at the base of the opening, throwing up a spray of splinters and hunks of rotten wood, until suddenly the ground below him slid away and spilled into the cavern. He scrambled through the opening, grabbed his spade as he went. His father was immediately behind him as they crouched a few paces on the solid surface of the platform, their footsteps echoing and their helmet lamps cutting washes in the surrounding gloom. Cobwebs hung in skins from the roof, and Dr. Burrows blew as one draped himself across his face. As he looked around, his light caught his son, a strange sight of a shock of white hair sticking straw under his battered and humble-backed, his pale blue eyes flashing with innocence as he blinked into the dark. It was difficult to describe Will's clothes, other than to say they appeared to thin red-brown hue and textured as the clay he had been working in. Such was passing with life. As for Dr. Burrows himself, he was a weary man of average height. One wouldn't have described him as tall or, for that matter, short, but just someone in the middle. He had the round face with peering brown eyes that appeared almost blue to his gold-rimmed pebble glasses. Look up there, Will. Look at that, he said as a light on the side which had just emerged. Way out, it read in large black letters. They turned on their head torches, and the beam combined with two of those weaker helmet lamps. Ricocheting through the darkness and revealed the full length of the platform. Roofs hung from the roof, and the walls were caked with efflorescence and streaked with chalky lime scale which fissures had seeped moisture. They could hear the sound of running water somewhere in the distance. How's this for fun? Dr. Burrows said with a southern music. Just think, nobody has set foot down here since the new Hatfield was built in 1895. They had emerged on one of the ends of the platform, and Dr. Burrows now shone his torch in the opening of the train tunnel to their side. It's blocked by a mound of rubble and earth. It could be the same down the other end. They will have sealed both tunnels. As they picked their way along the platform, grizzling the walls, it's just possible to make out a block of crazily cracked cream tails with dark green edging. Gas lamps sprouted every 3 meters or so. A number are with glass shades and tails still on them. Dad, over there! Will called. Have you seen these posters? You can still read them. I think they're adverts for land or something. Here's a good one. Viscount Circus, to be held on the common 10th day of February 1895. Here's a picture. He said breathlessly as his father joined him. The poster has been spared any water damage, and they could still make out the crude colors of rather big top with a blue man and look at this, 2 fat Dr. Gunners energy pills. The heavy line drawing the poultry man with a beard holding a small container. They walked further along, stepping around a mountain of rubble that swirled on the platform with the archway. That could have through the other platform. Dr. Burrows told his son. They paused to look at the orchids and bench. This goes nicely in the garden. All it needs is a rub down and a few coats of gloss. Dr. Burrows was muttering as Will's torch beamed on the dark wooden door behind in the shadows. Dad, wasn't there an office or something on the plan? Will asked, staring at the door. An office? Dr. Burrows replied, fumbling through his pocket until he found a piece of paper he was searching for. Let me have a look. Will didn't wait for an answer, pushing the door, which was stuck too fast, losing interest in his plan. The Burrows went in the aid of his son and they tried to shoulder the door open. It was badly warped in the frame, but on the roof, a downpour of silk covering their heads and shoulders. Coughing and rubbing dust from their eyes, they pushed their way through the rub of cobwebs. Wow! Will exclaimed quietly. There in the middle of the dust, Will moved cautiously behind a chair and with his gloved hand brushed away the layer of cobwebs on the wall and with a large faded map on the railway system. Could have been the station master's office, Dr. Burrows said as he swept dust off the desk with his arm to reveal a blotted green teacup and saucer. Next to them is a small adage, green and silver. How fascinating! A railway telegraph. They should make brass outside. 2 of the walls were lined with shelves stacked with different cardboard boxes. Will searched for a box at random and carried it over to the desk quickly, and threatened to fall apart in his hands. He lifted off the misshapen lid and looked inside of old tickets. He picked one of them out, but the pierced rubber band crumpled, sending a fatty of tickets spewing over the desktop. They are blanks. They wouldn't have been printed up, Dr. Burrows said. You are right, Will confirmed, never ceasing to be amazed at his father's knowledge. As he studied one of the tickets, but Dr. Burrows wasn't listening. He was kneeling down and tugging at a heavy object on a lower shelf. Walked in a corner and dissolved his torch. And here, Dr. Burrows announced as Will turned a look at the machine, which old typewriter had a large pull handle on its side. It's an example of an early ticket printing machine. Bit coded, but we still get the worst off. What? For the museum? No, for my collection, Dr. Burrows replied. He hesitated, and his face looked serious expression. Look, Will, we are not going to breathe a word about this, any of this, to anyone, understand? Huh? wheel spun around, slight from creasing his brow. It wasn't neither of them went for the plot, causing the fact in their spare time. Not that anyone would be seriously interested anyway. Their common passion of the bird yet be discovered was something they didn't share with anybody else. Something that brought the father and son together, a bond between them. They stood in the office, their miners' lamps glittering on each other's faces. His son hadn't made any sort of response, but Dr. Poole fixed him with a stare and went on. I don't to remember what had happened last week with the Roman villa, did I? That big-wig professor turned up the deck and grabbed at the glory. I discovered that site, and what did I get? A tiny knowledge buried in his effort of a paper. Yeah, I remember, Will said, recalling his father's tension and outburst of fury at the time. Want that to happen again? No, of course not. Well, I'm not going to be a foot-tone on this one. I bet that nobody knew it. They're not going to nip this from me. Not this time. Agreed? Will agreed in sense, setting his light bouncing up, down, and down on the wall. Dr. Burroughs glanced at his watch. We really not to be getting back, you know. All right, Will replied calmly. His father caught his tone. There's no hurry, is there? We can take our time to explore the rest tomorrow night. No, I suppose, said Hartley, moving towards the door. Don't patted his son at him he had hardly leaving the office. Sterling work, Will. I must say, all these months of digging really paid off, didn't they? They retracted their steps and opened a last look at the platform, climbed back to the tunnel. 6 meters or so in, the tunnel blossomed out so they could walk side by side. If Dr. Burroughs stopped slightly or just high enough for him to stand. We need to double up the braces and props, Dr. Burroughs announced, extending the timbers above their heads. Instead of 1 every meter, if we discussed, they're about 1 and 2. Sure, no problem, Dad. We'll assess them rather than unwittingly, and we need to get this to shift this out lot. Dr. Burroughs continued, narrowing the amount of clay on the tunnel floor with his fork. Don't want to get too constricted down here, do you? No, Will conventionally not really intending to do anything about it at all. The sheer thrill of discovery resulted too much often in his fidelity to safeguard lest his father tried to lay down. His passion was to dig, and the last thing on his mind was to waste time on housekeeping, as Dr. Burroughs called it. And in any case, his father rarely volunteered to help any of the digging itself, on making an appearance when one of his hunters paid off. Dr. Burroughs whistled through his teeth as he slowly to expect the tower of snack bucklers and a deep up planking. He continued on to move the weight couple times, and he stopped several more times to test the wooden props on either side. He smacked them in the palm of his hand, whistling rising to an impossible squeak as he did so. The passage eventually leveled out and widened into a hot chamber, where there was a trestle table and a pair of sorry-looking armchairs. They dumped some of their equipment on the table, then climbed the last stretch of the tunnel to the entrance. Just as the clock down finished striking 7, the length of the iron shearing shift lifted a couple of centimeters in the corner of the timber stairs car park. It was early autumn, and the sun was just tipping over the horizon. As father and son, satisfied the coast was clear, pushed the sheet back to reveal the large timber hole in the ground. They poked their heads a little way out, double-checking that nobody else in the park, then climbed on the hole. Once the sheeting was back in place over the entrance, kicked the dirt over to disguise it. A breeze rattled the hoardings like a car park, and a newspaper rolled over the ground like a tumbleweed, scattering its pages and gaining momentum. The dying sun shone through the surrounding warehouses and reflected off the worn-tailed fencing by the nearly Peabody Texas block. The two burros ambling out of the car park looked every inch in fear of leaving their climb in the foothills to return to dawn.